This is my personal eulogy for Laurie Jordan, who died January 1, 2022 at the age of 65. First, I am stunned and deeply grieved by this death, which happened way too early. A shining light has gone out upon this earth with the death of Laurie Jordan. A vivacious and spirited human being is gone, and I am so sad. This eulogy is not easy to make, but it was easy to write because there are so many nice things to say about Laurie Jordan. I knew Laurie going back to the mid-90s. My guess, I met her at the Earth Save or the Break Bread for a Change vegan potlucks back then, which were organized by Tony White. Laurie was in our vegan and veggie circles. I don't even remember when I met her. She was around. She was in our club. That's for sure. Laurie and I got to know each other well when we drove together to Florida in her car, sharing costs, just before she became ill. But my special memories of Laurie are of her as a volunteer with my vegan advocacy organization, Viva Veggie. At one of the volunteer meetings, probably 25 years ago, I discovered that Laurie was extremely good with cold calling. This was before I opened the Veggie Center and way before Veggie Pride Parade. This was in my apartment back in the 90s. Anyway, she was making phone calls, and without an ounce of trepidation, Laurie engaged total strangers over the phone succinctly explained the purpose of her call. I was amazed at the time, and I remember it still. Laurie was smart as a whip, just grasped the situation around her immediately. She outshone all the other volunteers by a long shot. Just so smart. But not just smart. Energetic. But not just energetic. She was full of blessed optimism. She never cared whether her efforts for animals had a chance. She was going to advocate for animals. There was no debate in her mind. I remember Laurie back in the 90s when she worked at Caravan of Dreams. I just remember we were all so full of hope for the vegetarian cause. Back then, she was so part of that. You know, we knew we could change the world. We just knew it. On a personal level, Laurie was a great kidder. She would kid me. Woo! And it was all good. Who loves to get kidded? Well, I did, when Laurie was doing the kidding. She had such a wry way of looking at the world. Things around her were funny. And if you got a comment out of Laurie, it was always insightful or funny. She noticed those subtle things and could always articulate, always. Words always fell right off her tongue. That you could count on. Ultimately, though, for me, Laurie's crowning virtue was when she held court at the second stage, that is, the smaller stage at the annual Veggie Pride Parade in New York City. The expo at Union Square Park had two stages with PA systems. The main one for the scheduled speakers, and the other we called the testimonial station, which is where Laurie would beckon people to come up on stage to tell their story of how they became a vegan or vegetarian. Laurie was brilliant. She really brought people out. She had good introductions, and she had great follow-up questions. She was just precious up there, such a gift. Laurie was just great at a microphone. And when no one was being interviewed on stage, when Laurie was all alone up there, she would just take it upon herself to expound on every virtue to be a vegan. Such passion, so articulate. She was such a shining star. Words always just flowed off her lips. I think in the end, what made her so special was because she cared so much. But even more than this, it was how she was so engaged in everything around her. Life was such a blessing to her. Never pessimistic, never apathetic, never on autopilot. And she never felt sorry for herself. She never, she did not want to get sympathy. She was just strong that way. And Laurie was just immensely optimistically engaged with life. She had such optimism. She was going to fight for animals, and she didn't care that this was a difficult cause.